Hello everyone, welcome to today's class of Certified Ethical Hacking by OneByte Labs. I hope everyone is able to hear me and able to see the screen. Let me know in the live chat. Okay, so as in the last class, let me know what topic we discussed about enumeration. Yes. So anyone, if having any confusions or doubts from the enumeration topic, you can ask me right now. No, today we will not be having practical as I don't have access to my Windows. In Mac, we cannot do the practical. So no one having any doubts from enumeration topic? Okay. So if you remember, I told you yesterday that we will be having a session on some important terms, if you remember. So today we will be having that session because I told you that in the next class we will be having a session on important terms which we need to understand. Remember everyone? So that one we will be having today. So the important terms session I have recorded. So I will play that for you and I will be here if you have some doubts or queries. So tomorrow we will be having the practical on the left out Nmap for Kali Linux, HPing2, HPing3 is 3 in scanning networks, and WP scan and Nikto in enumeration tomorrow. Today we will discuss about the important terms. So let me load that recorded session for you. Wait for a few minutes so that we can start. Okay, everyone. So this is the important term. So this PDF I will be also sharing with you all, in which we have discussed about a lot of important terms. So let us start, and if you have any doubt, you can ask in the live chat. So let us start from the adware.
Okay, so let us start from this thing, adware. How many of you know about adware? How many of you know about adware? Okay, so as we use various type of softwares and we see various type of ads also. So a software which is designed to display ads automatically, okay, pre-chosen ads, to display users or to display to us. So that kind of softwares are known as adwares. Okay, so a type of application or a software which is basically designed to show pre-chosen ads. Okay, so we don't want to see ads, but it is designed to see to display ads. Those kind of softwares are known as adware. Okay, so that is a type of this thing, uh, predefined Android application or predefined iOS application, whose simple work is to display different type of ads which we don't want to see, but it is predefined. Okay, so that kind of software is known as adware software. Yes, it's also a malware. It's also a type of malware. Okay, or adware. So this is no this is adware. Second one is attack. So as we all know, what is attack? Attack is a type of action that is done on a system to get its access and extract sensitive data. This is known as attack. Okay, an attack is an action that is done on a system to get it access and extract sensitive data. Okay, taking over an system, taking over an application in order to gain some sensitive data or to extract sensitive data is known as attack. Okay, and third one is backdoor. How many of you know about backdoor? Let me know in the chat. What is backdoor? Yes, a backdoor or trapdoor is a hidden entry to a computing device or a softwares that bypasses security measures such as login and password protections. Okay, so a backdoor is a type of hidden door or a tab door which is normally hidden. Okay, no one is able to see it directly. Okay, so a backdoor or a trapdoor is a hidden entry uh, to a computing device or softwares that bypasses security measures such as logins and password protection. So if a system is having a backdoor, then it's also it can be also termed as the weak point. Okay, so using that, a hacker can easily get access to the system by bypassing the security measures. Okay, security measures means by bypassing the login details, by bypassing the password protections details, and getting the access easily. Okay, known as backdoor, this thing, backdoor. Next thing is a bot. What is a bot? So a bot is a type of small program uh, that has a automate action. Okay, so a bot is a program that automates an action so that it can be done repeatedly at much higher rate. So suppose if we want to perform a particular step, okay, onto a particular target, but using the human command, it is not possible. So we use bot because bot is having the capacity to perform a particular action, having lots of automation, okay, at higher rate. So a bot is a program that automates an action so that it can be done repeatedly at a much higher rate for a more sustained period than a human operator could do it. Okay, is it clear? What is a bot? Is it clear? Well, a bot is a program. Okay, uh, a bot is a program that automates an action. Suppose we want to perform a particular step onto a particular target. So what we need to do is we need to perform the action by giving the command. But we can do that only 5 to 10 times per second. Maximum, I am saying 5 to 10 second, 10 times per second. But using a bot can increase it up to 100 to 1000 per second. How? Because a bot is a computer program, and a computer program is easy to use and more sustained in comparison to human operator. So what we can do is a bot can automate all the actions which can be done repeatedly at a much higher rate of a more sustained period than a human operator could do it. Okay, suppose DDoS attack. Why DDoS attack is there? DDoS attack is used for flooding the system so that the system may go offline. So doing the DDoS attack using a human operator is not possible because we cannot generate lots of traffic using human commands. But if we use bots, then using bots we can generate lakhs of fake clicks in a single second also, because the bot is a program which can be used for automation of any action. Okay, so in that case bot can be used. So is it clear what is bot? Now as we discussed what is bot, let's come to botnet. What is botnet? So a botnet, also known as zombie army, is a group of computers controlled without their owner's knowledge. Okay, so botnets are used to send spam or make denial of service attacks. So here we come. What is a botnet? Uh, Botnet is an army of bots. Okay, small programs installed on various computers. Suppose I've installed bots on thousands of computers. So the whole group will be known as zombie army of bots. Okay, so a botnet, also known as zombie army, is a group of computers controlled without their owner's knowledge. So the owners don't know anything about the this thing hacking. Okay, they don't even know that a bot is installed into their system and they don't have any access. But what the hacker can do is he or she can easily control the system without having the owner's knowledge. Okay, so controlling thousands of systems remotely uh, using a bot is known as this thing, botnet. Now what the hacker can do is they can easily control the whole army with a single command. Okay, so if the hacker wants to perform a service attack command, that to make a DDoS attack, then they can easily send a command of DDoS, and the whole thousand computers will start sending this thing, fake traffic to the target. So using that, DDoS attack is performed. Okay, so this is known as botnet. A botnet, also known as zombie army, is a group of computers controlled without their owner's knowledge. So you don't even know that your system is being controlled from a remote location, but your system is being affected by a botnet. Okay. We'll be seeing in future that how to install bots on unauthorized machines and how to create botnets. We will be seeing in practical. Any confusion in botnet? Okay, now let us come to brute force attack. What is brute force attack? How many of you know about this one? Brute force attack? Let me know in the chat. Okay, so suppose what we can do is we have the link of the login portal. Okay, suppose we have the link of the Facebook login page. Now we can try using and we can try entering some guess of username and passwords. Okay, so what we can do is we can only try 3 to 4 guesses. Okay, and after that Facebook will block us. Facebook will block our IP address because we are trying to enter username passwords one by one, and every time it's wrong. So because of security issues, Facebook will block our IP address for next 24 hours, 48 hours. So what we can do is we can use brute force attack method. Using brute force attack method, the softwares, suppose we use some tools for brute force attack method, then the software will try to use different combinations of username and password from the dictionary. Okay, we need to provide some dictionary, and the software will try to have some random guesses of username and random guesses of passwords. Based on that, if there is a password or username match, then you can get a login easily. Okay, so using brute force attack you can do that. So a brute force attack is an automated and the simplest kind of method to gain access to a system or website. Okay, it tries different combination of usernames and password over and over again until it gets in. Is it clear about this brute force attack? Let me know in the chat. Okay, moving further, buffer overflow. How many of you know about buffer? What is buffer? Okay, suppose if we are using a printer, okay, and we gave some command to print out few pages. What happens is the command generates this thing. The whatever we type, whatever we give the command, it goes to the printer's buffer memory, okay, as a queue. Okay, suppose if we gave a command to print page 1, then after that we gave a command to print page 2, then after that we gave a command to print page 3, then all the 3 commands will be processed under the buffer memory of the printer. So it will process the first priority one, then it will process the second priority one, and then it will process the third priority one. Okay, suppose what happens if we overflow the whole buffer memory, because there is a specific memory defined for a buffer also. So what will happen if we overflow the buffer? It will crash, it will go offline also, or it will stop performing. So a buffer overflow is a flaw that occurs when more data is written to a block of memory. So if the capacity of memory is only 1 GB and if you pass 5 GB of data, so what will happen? It will simply crash. Okay, so buffer overflow is a flaw that occurs when more data is written to a block of memory or buffer than the buffer is allocated to hold. Is it clear? Buffer overflow, everyone? Okay, next one is clone phishing. So clone phishing is very easy. That clone phishing is the modification of an existing or legitimate email with a false link to trick the recipient into providing personal information. So cloning a real time looking email address. Suppose the email address of Facebook is, so Facebook support team is support@facebook.com. What a hacker can do is they can create a look-alike of that particular email, such as support@facebook hyphen india.com or face-book.com, or email which look likes exactly similar to the official emails. Okay, so a hacker can easily do the clone phishing attack. Using that method, they can easily send spam emails to you and can ask for your personal information. And if you fall into their trap, then because of that, you may leak your information also. Okay, this is known as clone phishing. Clone phishing is the modification of an existing or legitimate email with a false link to trick the recipient into providing personal information. So, using this trick, the hackers create some copy of Facebook, YouTube, Gmail, which looks exactly similar to the original one, and they will be sending you spam emails. Whenever you open the emails, you will see the same page as the original one, fall under the trick for entering your information. So based on that, the hackers can easily gather your information, your personal or security information. Okay, is it clear the clone phishing? Let me know in the chat. Okay, the next one is cracker. So most of you, I think, are familiar with this one. How many of you know about cracked softwares? Let me know in the chat. How many of you know about cracked softwares? Yes, cracked games, cracked softwares, which we basically use a lot for free. Okay, so a cracker is a hacker who modifies the softwares to access the features which are considered undesirable by the person cracking the software, especially copy protecting features. So suppose there is a software and the cost is $100, but if a person wants to use that, then the person can easily crack the software by accessing the features which are considered undesirable by the person. Okay, so a cracker does all those things. Okay, so a cracker is the one who modifies the softwares to access the features which are considered undesirable by the person cracking the software. Yeah, games are there, some softwares are there, some paid softwares are there, such as Sony Vegas Pro, Adobe XD, and all. So these all are a good example of these cracked softwares. Okay, so yes, it is illegal to use cracked softwares, and it is very harmful to use cracked softwares, because it's not necessary that what type of malware or what type of viruses are installed in the cracked software, because a hacker can uh, easily install some botnet or some bot in the particular cracked software. So you won't be easily, it is not easy to find the malware or type of bot which is attached in the cracked software. So it is always recommended to go for a genuine software version. Is it clear who is cracker? Let me know in the chat. Okay, so after moving to okay, moving from cracker, let us discuss about denial of service attacks. So I think most of you know about DDoS attack or denial of service attacks. How many of you know about denial of service attack? These terms are very important to understand in order to continue your first module. Okay, how many of you know about denial of service attacks? Okay, well, uh, a DOS attack is a you can say a malicious attempt to make a server or network resource unavailable to users. Okay, suppose if you have the domain name of google.com, you want to slow down the google.com website. Okay, how? Suppose each and every server has its own capacity to handle particular users. What will happen if you overflow the traffic? Definitely the system will go down, as if it goes beyond their capacity, they will definitely go down. So a denial of service attack is the malicious attempt to make a server or a network resource unavailable, which means down to users, usually by temporarily interrupting or suspending the services of a host connected to the internet. As we all know that websites or web application uses various uh, services on the internet in order to run the website or the web application. So suppose if we try to have a malicious attempt to make the server or network resource unavailable by doing some load of traffic activities, in that case the server will go down. Why? Because uh, the host and the service will be temporarily unavailable because of lots of traffic, because of reaching its maximum limit. So that is known as DOS attack. uh, uh, every year, a company loses hundred and thousand millions of dollars while facing the DDoS attacks. Okay, so DDoS attack is the worst kind of attacks currently in the industry. Okay, so is it clear, the DOS attack and DDoS attack? Yes, I will be sharing the doc after the class also. Is it clear, the DOS attack? Okay, moving further, exploit kit. So as we already know that in order to perform some hacking activities, there are few steps such as information gathering, gathering information about the target, scanning the target, footprinting of the target, then enumeration of the target, then scanning the weaknesses of the target, then performing the exploit. So exploit is the step where we will be exploiting the target, where we will be uh, creating a hole in the target in order to get a this thing access. So an exploit kit is a software system designed to run on web servers with the purpose of identifying software vulnerabilities in client machine, communicating with it, and exploiting discovered vulnerabilities to upload and execute malicious code on the client. So a kit which contains hundred of softwares. Okay, a kit which contains hundred of softwares which is specially designed to run on web servers. Why? In order to find vulnerabilities in the client machines. Okay, so that we can discover the vulnerabilities, the weak holes, and so that we can upload and execute the malicious code on the client. Okay, in order to find the malicious code on the client server, or in order to fix the vulnerabilities or the weakness, we have the exploit kit. As in Kali Linux, we have a lot of exploit kit tools available by default. So exploit kit can be termed as a software system designed to run on the web servers. Okay, they are specially designed to run on the web servers with the purpose to identify software's vulnerabilities. Suppose the web server is using 10 softwares, 10 jobs, 10 services. Now the exploit kit tool can be easily used for discovering the type of vulnerabilities the all the 10 servers are having, or all the 10 services are having. Okay, in order to find the weaknesses or loopholes to protect them. So this is exploit kit. Okay, moving further, exploit. What is exploit? Exploit is a piece of softwares or chunk of data or sequence of command that takes advantage of a bug or vulnerability to compromise the security of a computer network. Suppose we have data about us about a this thing about a server or a web application. Okay, we know that there is a particular loophole in the system, and we know about that. So we have the target, we have the weakness. Now what to do? We need to write a particular exploit. Okay, we need to write a particular exploit using which we can hack the particular target. Okay, that is known as exploit. So exploit is a piece of softwares, okay, or chunk of data or sequence of commands that we need to perform. Why? In order to uh, in order to get the access on the target system using their bugs or vulnerabilities. Okay, we know the type of bug on the system, we know the type of vulnerability the system is having. Now what we need to do is we need to write a piece of code. Using the code we can just exploit the whole system and can get easily access. Okay, so exploit is a piece of software or chunk of data or a sequence of commands that takes advantage of a bug or vulnerability to compromise the security of a computer or network. Is it clear? Exploit. Let me know in the chat. Everyone, exploit. Okay. Next one is firewall. So I hope all of you know about the firewall, because firewall is the basic thing. So a firewall is a type of filter. Okay. Each and every system has its own firewall. Each and every server has its own firewall. Okay, so a firewall is a filter which is designed to keep unwanted intruders outside a computer system or network while allowing safe communication between system and user on the inside of the firewall. Suppose if there is a only need of communication between the laptop and the server, then if there is a third party application which is trying to connect to the network, then the firewall will easily block those this thing, third party connections. Okay, because they are unwanted. So a firewall is a type of filter which is to keep unwanted intruders. Okay, we don't know about the intruders, we don't know about the network coming, we don't know about the traffic. Okay, so those are known as unwanted intruders, okay, outside a computer system. So firewall helps us in order to keep those away, in order to perform safe communication between our system and users inside the firewall. So this is the basic use of firewall. Okay, moving further, keystrokes logging. How many of you know about keyloggers? Everyone, how many of you know about keyloggers? Okay, keylogger is basically a type of softwares which can be easily installed on laptop or smartphone. Using that, what we can do is we can get information about the system and look.com. I hit enter. That particular parameter will be get logged and will be sent back to you. Okay. Then it will ask me for username and password. Whenever I enter user name or password, then again it will be sent back to the attacker. So all these activities are performed via keystroke logging. Okay. So whatever keys is being hit or being pressed in the laptop or smartphone, it's being logged, and after storing in the database it will be sent back to the attacker. So this is known as keystroke logging. That particular parameter will be get logged and will be sent back to you. Okay, so a firewall is a filter which is designed to keep unwanted intruders outside a computer system or network while allowing safe communication between system and user on the inside of the firewall. Suppose if there is a only need of communication between the laptop and the server, then if there is a third party application which is trying to connect to the network, then the firewall will easily block those this thing, third party connections. Okay, because they are unwanted. So a firewall is a type of filter which is to keep unwanted intruders. Okay, we don't know about the intruders, we don't know about the network coming, we don't know about the traffic. Okay, so those are known as unwanted intruders, okay, outside a computer system. So firewall helps us in order to keep those away, in order to perform safe communication between our system and users inside the firewall. So this is the basic use of firewall. Okay, moving further, keystrokes logging. How many of you know about keyloggers? Everyone, how many of you know about keyloggers? Okay, keylogger is basically a type of softwares which can be easily installed on laptop or smartphone. Using that, what we can do is we can get information every hour regarding what type of keys are being pressed by the users. Okay, so you can track the keystrokes in laptop, that these are the commands the user is typing, these are the URL the user is typing. So every hour or every 30 minutes you can just track the whole keystrokes of the particular system. So using that you can easily get the passwords. Using that you can easily get usernames, because whenever user types, suppose I am going to type in Chrome facebook.com, I hit enter, that particular parameter will be get logged and will be sent back to you. Okay, then it will ask me for username and password. Whenever I enter username or password, then again it will be sent back to the attacker. So all these activities are performed via keystroke logging. Okay, so whatever keys is being hit or being pressed in the laptop or smartphone, it's being logged. And after storing in the database, it will be sent back to the attacker. So this is known as keystroke logging. Yes, like skimmers uses for ATM. Like skimmers use your using this thing ATM for getting the pins that were same like that one. They capture keystrokes. Is it clear what is keystroke logging? Everyone? Okay, great. Logic bomb. What is logic bomb? Suppose we created a virus, okay, and we don't want the virus to spread normally. We only want the virus to spread on a particular trigger. That if this happens, then the virus must spread. So that condition is known as logic bomb. If a certain logic is triggered, that if users clicks on power button, then only the virus must install. If the user clicks on delete button, then only the virus should install. If the user press on enter button, then the virus must install. So a virus secreted into a system that triggers a malicious action when certain conditions are met. Conditions such as whenever the user clicks on power button, it must activate. Whenever the user clicks on escape button, it must activate. Whenever the user clicks on space bar, it must activate. So those kind of triggers of a malicious action can be termed as logic bomb. Okay. Okay, so there is a question that is there a way we can identify whether the websites we are in enabled with keystroke logging? Well, it's not easy to find whether a website is using keystroke logging or not, because keystrokes logging are done via system actually. It's not on the particular website, it's using the system. So many of you must know that many net banking providers, they give you virtual keyboards. You need to click using your mouse. That cannot be accessed via keylogger. Okay, so that is safe. Yes, in Logic Bomb we can write various commands also. Alt plus F4, spacebar plus F. So it depends. So like that only we have malware, master program, we have phishing, freakers, social engineering we have, spam we have, spoofing we have, spyware we have, SQL injections we have, okay, threats we have, trojans we have, viruses we know, vulnerability we all know, type of weakness which allows a hacker to gain access to a system, worms we know, crowd-sized scripting we have, and zombie drone we have. So these are the default terms which is generally used every time whenever we perform practical or whenever we start our module. Okay, so these are the common and default terms which will be used every time, each and every time whenever we use some phrases and all. So is it clear? The terms from adware up to this thing. Okay, spoofing. Well, spoofing is nothing but to gain unauthorized access to computers. Okay, suppose my name is ABC, but I don't want to give my identity to the server, and I will be using the name as DEF. So I will be using the identity of different user, and I will be showing myself as different username. In that case, this one is known as spoofing. So the server will trust me that yes, he is the ABC person, but I am not, because I am spoofing your identity. I am spoofing different one identity, different user's identity. That is known as spoofing. Okay, so is that any doubt here regarding the important terms, everyone? Social engineering is nothing but to gather information using getting in touch with the target, collecting sensitive and personal information by getting in touch with the target. So I will be talking to you, I will be calling you, I will be meeting you, and I will be trying to know your personal information, just like your credit card details, username and password. So those all techniques comes under social engineering. How to identify keylogger on our system? Well, you need to have an antivirus. Antivirus can easily detect if a system is having keylogger or not. Okay, don't worry, we will be also performing practicals also. Okay, so you will be having each and every knowledge of each and every terms clearly also. We will be using different type of tools for each terms, and using that you can have a clear look also. Okay, any confusion up to here? Best antivirus for Kali, you prefer which one? Well, for Kali we don't have to use any antivirus. Kali doesn't need to be have an antivirus. Cross-site scripting. Well, cross-site scripting is a type of vulnerability, okay, which is typically found in web applications. Suppose we have web application, then if the website is vulnerable to XSS attack, which means cross-site scripting, then using that, what attacker can do is they can inject some malicious script from the browser, and the website will process the code, and it may affect the backend server side or database if the website is vulnerable to this attack. So user can easily access the database, user can easily access the code of the website, user can easily access the session of the website using this accesses attack method. Okay, so it's very important to prevent a website from accesses attack. So is that clear here, or any confusion? Let me know in the chat. Okay, let us discuss about our tools, the tools quickly. Okay, such as the first one is Nmap. How many of you know about this one, Nmap? Well, suppose if we have the IP address of the target, then using this, we can just easily have this one, the information about the host and the operating system, that how much, how many ports are open, how many ports are closed, what type of services are running, what type of services are offline. So all these informations can be gathered via Nmap. Okay, it's a type of scanning tool. network mapper tool and open source. It's easy to use and free. So Nmap we have. We'll be doing the practicals of Nmap also. Then we have Metasploit. Metasploit is one of the most powerful exploit tools. Okay, suppose we have the information about the target, we have the weakness about the target. Now we can easily exploit the target using Metasploit. So Metasploit is very widely used and open source tool. Okay. Then we have Burpsuit. Burpsuit is also a type of tool which is used for security testing. Okay. Then we have Angry IP Scanner. We have the IP address of the target, then we can perform scanning using Angry IP Scanner. Using this, we can scan for the current IP address situated with the particular target, a host of the target, the operating system of the target, total tree structure of the target, everything else, like what type of services the website is using, what type of features the server is using. All those can be scanned using Angry IP Scanner. Then we have Kane Enable. Kane Enable is usually used for this thing, wireless capturing and all. Okay, so Kane Enable can be used for sniffing the network. If you are into an open source Wi-Fi network, you can sniff the network and can gain access to the passwords and all. You can crack encrypted passwords using dictionary attacks, brute force, record VoIP conversations, decode scrambled passwords, recovering wireless network keys, revealing password boxes, hacking Wi-Fi passwords. So all these things can be done via Kane Enable. Yes, we will be doing practicals of each and every topics also, each and every tools also. So don't worry about that. But first, we need to know about the terms, the important terms. Okay, AtterCap is there, EtherPeak is there, SuperScan is there. So all these softwares are used for getting the information about the network. Okay, because this is a basic thing. We will be doing practicals on each and every tools. Okay, because each and every tool has the same feature but different type of techniques and usage. Okay, so we'll be doing practicals on each and every tools which is important to cover. So any confusion here regarding the tools and the terms? If you have any questions, then you can ask me. Sniffing means to capture some information by doing some hidden activities. Okay, you will be sniffing on shoulders and you will be seeing some passwords of target and all. You will be looking for some information about your target by doing some hiding activities known as sniffing. Suppose I'm into an open Wi-Fi network. I will be using few tools such as Kane Enable. What I can do is I can easily interpret your connections and I can easily see what type of websites you are visiting, what type of search you are making, what type of videos you are watching, what type of images you are watching. Okay, so that is known as sniffing. Is that clear? So the first step is how to get the IP address of the target. So suppose if we want to perform a particular activity on a target, how to do that? We just need to use the ping command and we just need to pass the domain of our target and we can easily find the IP address. So as we can see, here is the IP address 108.170.7.27. So we have the IP address. Now we can use this IP address in various tools. Okay, suppose this is Nmap. Okay, let it be open. So this is Nmap. Here we need to pass the target, which means the IP address. Okay, let me start from once again. This is the CMD. Okay, you need to use ping command. Ping the domain name which we want to find the IP address, hit enter, then we can easily find the IP address 108.170.7.27. Now we have the IP address. We need to use the software. So let us now try Nmap. So in Nmap, we need to pass our target. In target, we need to pass the IP address. Okay. So after passing the IP address and the command, we need to hit on scan. So whenever we hit on a scan, we will be easily finding out about the host details, services the website is running, ports the website is currently having, state, services of the ports running, topologies, host details, scan details. So each and everything will be printed here, which will cover the basic information and the deep information about the host. Is that clear? Anyone? Any confusion here? Okay, once again, suppose if you want to perform some activity or some scanning activity on a particular target, first you need to open CMD. Okay, you need to use the ping command. Using ping command, you can easily find the IP address of the domain name. So suppose we need to find IP address of google.com. So google.com is having IPv6. Suppose we need to try on facebook.com. Again IPv6. Next tech.com. Okay. So we have the IP address as 108.170.7.27. This is the IP address. Now, after we have the IP address, we can perform some network scanning operations. So first, let us start the Nmap. This is just a demo, not the practical. We'll be doing a separate practical on this, so don't worry. This is the Nmap user interface. Okay. In Nmap user interface, we need to enter the target. What is the target? The IP address 180.190.27.1 or whatever the IP address is of the target, and we need to click on scan. Whenever we click on scan, the software will start scanning for each and every data the server is having, such as type of operating system the host is using, type of services the host is using, number of open ports, number of closed ports, okay, topologies, host details, scan results, and all. So all this information can be fetched via Nmap or other third-party tools. No, the host cannot know that we are scanning their website. It's not possible because it's not illegal to scan. Is it clear, everyone? Any confusion here? If you have any queries, you can ask here. As today we faced some technical issues, that's why we will be going to finish today's session. If you have any confusion, then you can ask here. We already got the IP address of Google and FB, but these are the IPv6 address. For getting the IPv4 address, we need to use different tools. Okay, so it is easy to find the address of Google and Facebook also, but there are two type of IP addresses. One is IPv4 and another one is IPv6. So we will be also knowing in practicals how to scan IPv6 address also. Okay, right now we will be starting with IPv4. Yes, we will be scanning the IP address and we'll be seeing the result in our practical session. Today, due to some technical issues, we'll be finishing this session as the first 45 or 40 minutes. The tutor we were unable to know that you were not able to hear because of some technical issues. Yes, we'll be having 3-hour session every Saturday and Sunday. Right now, we are just informing you some basic concepts, terms, methodologies. Okay, so that you won't face any issues in practicals and theoretical sessions also. Because in order to start this session at a good pace, you need to have the basic knowledge also. Okay, we cannot start directly teaching you regular 3 hours because 60% chances will be there that you won't understand. So first of all, we want to make you understand the basic concepts of ethical hacking because 70 to 80% of you are new in this field. Okay, who don't even know about ethical hacking. They just know that what is ethical hacking, but they don't even know how to start in ethical hacking field. So first will be covering the basics, terms and all. Then after that we'll be moving to the actual topic. So any confusion, anyone? Please ask me in the chat. We have time right now.
Okay, everyone. So I think there is some issue with the recording device. I think so. The audio is repeating. So this is it for today, everyone. I hope you liked today's session. The recording will be uploaded as soon as possible, and we'll be sharing in Telegram channel. So now you can leave the class and have a good night ahead. Thank you everyone for joining this session.